name is Tracy, and I work for West Virginia University Extension Service Family Nutrition Program. And today we are making cauliflower tabbouleh. This is a spin on a classic. We are going to be featuring cauliflower instead of the traditional cracked wheat or bulgur wheat that we typically see in our tabbouleh. So first we're going to have to rice our cauliflower. So let me show you how to do that. All right, so the first step when we come into the kitchen is always to, of course, wash our hands with warm soapy water for at least 20 seconds. We also want to make sure to wash all of our produce. So I've gone ahead and already done that to save some time. So for our cauliflower, the first thing we're going to do is remove the leaves. A little trick I like is the bag that I put it in when I bought it at the store, I save it for all of my scraps. So we're going to rip all of the leaves off from around the cauliflower, and this is going to expose the center stem of our cauliflower. So we're getting rid of all the leaves, and we can just rip those off with our hands. This is a great project for the kids. They can rip all the little leaves off. And then we're going to use a sharp knife, and we're kind of just going to cut down into the cauliflower. I kind of go directly down so that I don't cut myself and stay out of the way. And what we're doing is cutting at about a 45-degree angle so that I am getting rid of just the stem that goes through the core here, through the middle. And when I do that, I've kind of created a bit of like a triangle going at a 45 around, and we can just set this to the side. And now I've got all these hunks of our florets. So the cauliflower, the part of the food that we eat is actually the flower of the plant. It's the florets. We also can eat these stems here. I know that a lot of people typically just like to eat the top, but when we're ricing cauliflower, we really want the whole thing. We're even going to whittle this down a little bit. So I've got my leaves out of the way, and now we're going to use a grater. You don't want to use the little sides. You want to find the big chunky side here and place it down in our bowl. And we're going to just kind of work our way through, being careful not to shave our fingers. And I'm just going to sit it in here, and you're going to shave and shave and shave. Watch your fingers. And let's see how we did. All right, so we've got some fine riced cauliflower in my bowl. Once you have grated all of the large chunks, you're going to be left with the parts that you couldn't grate because otherwise you would have grated your fingers. So you can just use a knife to go back through and chop all of those ones up nice and small. You don't want any big hunks, but we also don't want to waste any parts. So before you lose your finger, go ahead and break out a knife and chop, chop, always keeping your fingers out of the way. Once we have our entire head of cauliflower riced, it's going to be nice and in nice little small chunks. We are ready to get our other ingredients together. We are going to have 1 can of garbanzo beans. Sometimes they're called chickpeas. So we've got garbanzo or chickpeas that we are going to rinse and drain. We're going to have 1 cucumber, 1 tomato, and then we're going to have a 1/2 cup to a cup of green parsley and fresh mint. We're going to have about a 1/2 cup of that, and 2 sprigs of spring or green onions. For the dressing, we are going to use the juice from 2 lemons, a clove of garlic minced, as well as olive oil, salt, and pepper. So we have our head of cauliflower riced. I have gone ahead and rinsed my garbanzo chickpeas, and so I'm going to dump those in there. Bloop. And then we're going to have an entire cucumber. And I want to show you a trick to cutting the cucumber so that we get these nice, consistent pieces of cucumber. When we make this tabbouleh, we really want all of the pieces to be able to fit in one spoonful. So if we have a chunk of cucumber that's too big or tomato that's too big, there's not going to be much room left on our spoon for the other goodies that really bring this whole dish together. So I sliced off either end of my cucumber, and I typically chunk it maybe into 2 or 3 smaller pieces about this size to work with. I'm going to stand it up on its end, and I'm going to slice down 3 to 4 times depending on how fat the cucumber is. And that way now I have like 4 even thickness slices of cucumber. I'm going to put these back together here. And then I'm going to take, why don't those want to go back together? Yeah, there we go. Then I'm going to take half of it and I'm going to turn them basically into a French fry. And the width of however fat I made each slice, I'm going to want to turn around and make each French fry about the same width, giving me that kind of squarish French fry size. And then we go back the other way and I can dice it into these nice little cubes, keeping my fingers out of the way, making like a little claw. All right, so now I have some nice consistent shapes to put into my tabbouleh. I'm going to go ahead and do this other one. We want the whole cucumber in there. And we're going to continue this same technique of slice and then into a French fry and then diced into squares for our tomato. For this recipe, we really want the nice firm parts of the tomato, not so much the juicy, squishy, seedy parts. So once you follow this same slice and then French fry and then the dice, you'll want to pull off any like gooey parts and seedy parts. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And then for my parsley, you can, you're going to want to take off all of the, man, I keep thinking I got all that cucumber in there and I didn't. You're going to want to peel off all the leaves. We really don't want any of the stem. All of our flavor is right here in the tops. And the easiest way to cut something small like this is I like to get a big knife that has a bit of a rock to it. And you're just going to work your way all the way across, and then I turn my knife and kind of swing all the way across the other way, and just keep doing this until your leaves are nice and tiny. All right, and then we should have a total of about a half a cup to a cup of parsley. I think I should have used a bigger bowl in case you were wondering. And then for our mint, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull off the leaves, squish it all together, and then work our way across. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. Going to work our way all the way across. Doot, doot, doot. And then we're going to go back the other way. It smells so minty and delicious. Okay. Then we're going to go back the other way, and we've got our mint. Yep, definitely should have used a bigger bowl. And then for our green or spring onions, I always discard the very tops. Those parts tend to be a little like dead looking, so we're going to discard those. And we're going to work all the way down until we get to the white section. All right, so you'll work all the way down till you have 2 springs of green onion on top here. I've got a bigger bowl now so that I don't make a great big mess. And I'm going to dump it all in there. There we go. Thank you, Anna. Okay. So I've got everything now into a much bigger bowl that I can work with. This way I can toss it all with a great big spoon. And you can see all the different colors. And we're just gonna mix it up to where the green and the white and the red from the tomatoes, oh my gosh, this smells so good and fresh. So we've got all of our different kind of big ingredients, and now we're going to make the dressing that gets drizzled on top. So we have our juice from 2 lemons. If you roll the lemon around and really put a lot of pressure on it and massage it till the lemon gets soft, when you go to slice it and squeeze it, you'll get a lot more juice. We also have a clove of garlic that I peeled off and then I minced. When we mince, it's going to be really small, tiny pieces of garlic. No one wants to get a big hunk of garlic in there. And then I have my salt and pepper as well as my olive oil ready to go. So the juice from 2 lemons, our garlic. It's a good thing I washed my hands. I love using my fingers in my home kitchen. Okay. And then we are going to put 6 to 7 tablespoons of olive oil. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna go with 6 because that seems like an awful lot. So 6 tablespoons. And then we're gonna put a teaspoon of salt. Never measure over your bowl. If you overflow, you're going to over season or put too much of that ingredient. So always over a sink or somewhere else. So we've got our salt. And now we're going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. That in there. And then we're just gonna mix all this up, and then we pour it over the tabbouleh so that it's all incorporated. So that oil is gonna separate from the lemon juice, and that's okay. We just try and get it as mixed up as possible, get that salt moving around. And we're going to drizzle it on top of our tabbouleh here. Ooh, I'm just making a mess left and right here. Okay. We drizzled it on top, and then we're gonna just use a big spoon, and we wanna try to coat all of the cauliflower and all of our other ingredients, our beans. So you can tell that it's been coated because it's kind of glossy from the fat and the olive oil. This looks and smells delicious. So this can go in the fridge and it'll keep in there. Everything will stay crispy for a couple of days, but definitely want to use it within the week. And this tabbouleh salad makes a great side dish to some grilled chicken and some olives. Would be really delicious. I hope you all enjoyed making this cauliflower tabbouleh recipe. It smells and tastes absolutely delicious. Have a great day.